Welcome to Drinks in the Library, the only library where drinks aren't just allowed, they are required. I'm your librarian host, Gigi Howard, and each episode I'll be interviewing a guest about a much-loved book that we will be pairing with a drink for you to enjoy along with us or consider for your next book club meetup. As always, stay curious and support your local library. Hello, Libration Nation. Okay, I'm doing something totally different this week. If it is your first time listening, just know that none of the other episodes are like this. I wanted to have an opportunity to give you books that I have recently enjoyed that have not been covered on the podcast. So in this episode, which I am calling Required Listening, I will be giving you 15 books that I loved in 2025. This week, I'm joined again by my wonderful husband, Bill Howard. Also know that this is done in the spirit of you and I are out, and you ask me to give you some books I love, and I just pull out my phone and start yapping. I wanted it to feel easy breezy and off the cuff, so not a lot of prep went into it. If you love this format, let me know. If you hate this format, let me know, but maybe in a nice way. You can email me at drinkspod@gmail.com. Also know that there will not be anything in the show notes about these books because I want people to listen and not just go straight to the list, but good for you. You're ahead of the curve. You're already listening, and I will be giving those books in just a moment. Our drink this week is, as ever, rosé. Yes, that is the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle herself's rosé. I said I was going to review it, which I did, and I will be sharing that video on Instagram along with the show. So it should be a fun little pairing. Last but not least, if you are in the Georgetown, D.C. location next week, Tuesday, October 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. at M.M.LaFleur Georgetown, I will be interviewing Ally Kirkpatrick, owner of Old Town Books, about her favorite book. It will be a great night. I will have registration info in the show notes as well as on my social media. I hope you join us. It's going to be a blast. All right. As always, if you enjoy the show, please subscribe, like wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your friends about the podcast. I really appreciate your support. All right, let's get to it.
Hello, Libration Nation. Your ears don't deceive you. Yes, this is another Bill episode. So get ready for the razzle-dazzle. As a change of pace, we often get recommendations and listen to the books that other people have been impacted by or want others to read. To spin things on its head, we're going to get Gigi's recommendations and what we have not figured out a name for here at Drinks in the Library Industries National Headquarters.
Name the file that we're recording into. It's called Drinks in the Podcast.
Drinks in the Podcast?
I didn't know. Yeah.
I like the Bon Air review because you have these Paris reviews over here.
Oh, yeah.
So
I do have the Paris review. So
yeah, this is the Bon Air review. I don't know. Send us some emails at drinksinthelibrary at...
No. It's if you have a great name for future of these, once this comes out, it's too late. But
right.
drinkspod@gmail.com.
And Bill will work on learning the email address for the podcast.
You don't usually have to use it.
And to kick off this new episode format, our guest is our host, Gigi Howard. So, Gigi, who were you when you read all of these books?
Okay, all right. Like you said, I every week interview a guest about their favorite book, and that's great. That's the point of this. However, I also read quite a bit, and sometimes the books that we're talking about are a favorite of mine. Sometimes they're not. It doesn't really matter what I think about the books that we talk about on the podcast most of the time. It's really about the guest experience. But I read quite a bit, and so I thought it would be fun just to go down all the books that I've read this year. I've read quite a bit. So this is not an all-encompassing list.
And I think you are underselling the amount of books you read in a year. If we did a review of everything you read, this podcast would be roughly 9.5 hours long.
Yeah.
So we do need to break it up into sizable chunks, a nice little, it's an aperitif.
An
maybe?
aperitif, yeah. So I went through everything that I've read this year, and I just picked 15.
An easy 15 books.
Solid.
Please knock them out before we do this again in 3 months.
Yeah, I picked 15 books that I really like this year, and it's October.
Sorry, I think my Goodreads reading goal is like 20 for the year. And you had to narrow it down to a tight 15.
It's like I'm like Taylor Swift of reading. She has to write 47 songs to get down to 17. I have to read 70 books to get down to 15 I really liked.
You've sent me a fairly interesting list here. I don't think these are my talking points on here. But why don't we dive on in? Is there any order to this?
Yes.
Are these rated by power?
So, yes, these are off vibes. I would love to make this something where I actually have a rubric of what I enjoyed about each book or cultural significance, things like that. I didn't have enough time to do that.
So if you're a data analyst and would like to really work on a qualitative ranking for these,
I can't pay you.
Please email us at drinkspod@gmail.com.
Yeah, once again, I can't pay you, but if you're interested in that kind of thing. So these are...
We can toss you some drinks.
Yes.
All right. And jumping into it, we're going to start with the 15th rank vibe of the new spooky season.
It's not spooky.
It's not spooky?
No.
We're talking about non-spooky books in spooky season?
I don't think there's any spooky books on this. Maybe one.
Starting at number 15, we have Girl on Girl, How Pop Culture Turned a Generation of Women Against Themselves by Sophie Gilbert.
I read this off the recommendation of a librarian I work with, Kelly. Also, shout out to Kelly. Librarian of the Year, 2025.
Wow. Shout out to Kelly.
Yeah. So this is a book. Also, Sophie Gilbert, I think, and I are exactly the same age. So this book talked a lot about what was going on in the early 2000s, specifically with Britney Spears and pop stars and movies and all of the ways that you're just giving me a look like you're confused.
My main confusion is knowing your interest areas. How is this not higher on the vibe list? That seems up your alley.
I think because it's very depressing.
As a person who at one point had viewed yourself as the world's expert on Leanne Rimes, it seems like this would be in your wheelhouse to be higher than 15. In fairness, this 15 is cut down from 90, so that's pretty... No shots at you, Sophie Gilbert. You made the cut. But,
yes, Sophie made the cut. Also, I think this is the only nonfiction on the list. If you're coming at this for nonfiction, I'm really sorry. That's generally not my genre.
We'll do a Bill review later in the year for some nonfiction recommendation. No, we won't.
Okay. Anyhow, it's basically the title says a lot, but it goes into specific scenarios of things that happened in the early 2000s to now. It is amazing how we depicted people like Britney Spears, I think, is the nucleus example of all things that you can get into with this book. And it goes into so much more.
I think there is an interesting trend now where it's taking interviews and cutting the sound bites up to be wow, that was really vicious how we treated women in the expectations put upon them, especially pop star models or just anyone in the public eye, really.
Yeah.
And just the kind of unfair expectation. So this was number 15. We know who you were because you read it recently and you've put out 400 of these podcasts no.
Yeah. I think that another example from this is Jessica Simpson in 2006 wearing those jeans that would we call them mom jeans now, and how people were oh my God, she's a whale. And it was just, there's so many more examples of it, but I think it's an important book.
Side note to the Jessica Simpson autobiography that had a stranglehold on this house a few years ago.
Yes, if you have, what's the name of her autobiography? Open Book. If you haven't read Open Book by Jessica Simpson, I really recommend it. She's an amazing storyteller, actually, and
But
it's all right.
do
So
you
anyway,
feel the girl on girl book was was it a good thought piece? Was it a good, just got the wheels turning, or asked you to reconceptualize that period?
yeah, I think, and it has to reconceptualize now. There's still a lot of misogyny in our culture, and so all the different ways that we should be pushing back on some of that as well, and also the ways that women hold up the patriarchy. And
Tough looks.
yeah, it's a good read for sure, especially for anyone like me who grew up in that time and were told at 5'9" and 155 pounds that you were obese.
Also a tough look. Who would you recommend number 15, Girl on Girl, to?
Like I said, I think it's definitely for anybody that has daughters. Now, I think it's for people that are women like me, about the same age. It's helpful to reframe some of those scenarios and be like, that was really messed up. And that did make me feel bad for years. So that's what I would say about Girl on Girl. And it's lots of data. So if you're into data...
yeah.
And also lots of pop culture references. So if you want to relive some instances of watching American Pie and all of those like really raunchy movies from the early 90s and feel bad about it, that the Girl on Girl is for you.
I want to keep it moving. In my head, there's this Morning Zoo kind of sound bite where, as we go to the next one.
I mean, we could. I think I have the tech to do sound bites.
I think it would probably not fit the vibe of the overall Drinks in the Library aesthetic, but just know that's going on in my head as we transition.
Good.
At number 14, we have Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey.
McConaughey. So my take on this is climate fiction, but make it a mystery.
Tell me more. You had my attention, but now you have my interest.
Okay, so there's this family. It's the dad and the 3 kids, and they live on this island. I think it's like near Antarctica. This is one of the first books I read this year, so forgive me if I don't get all the details. But basically they're there and they're supposed to be saving all of these seeds, like the original seeds for all these plants and fruits and vegetables, but the waters are rising and they're starting to get calls that they need to get off the island, and every day is more dire than the last. And then all of a sudden this mysterious woman washes up on shore looking for her husband. And her husband is supposed to be there, but where is her husband?
Does she wash up or she has a boat?
As I said, I read it at the beginning of this year.
Know, that's a wild divergence between the two.
She definitely was on a boat and made it to there. Okay. And then they're trying to nurse her back to health. And I don't want to give too much away because it is a mystery. But where is her husband? And also, what are we doing to our planet?
And for Wild Dark Shore, who's the reader? Every book has its reader. Every reader has a book.
Yeah. Wild Dark Shore has been a big book this year. I don't think it made it to the finals of the National Book Awards. In fact, none of the books I picked made it to the final of the National Book Award.
Deep cuts.
I'm coming out. I am going head to head with the National Book Awards. They don't know it yet. But Gigi's List, it's coming for you.
Yeah. That Bonnier Review. I'm speaking it into existence as the title.
The Bonnier Review is going to take National Book Awards lunch next year, or at some point in time. But yeah, I don't think it made I don't think it made lists, but I think this is one of probably the most stylistically interesting books on the list. It's very well written, but it keeps the tension going. So if you want a mystery, but you also want to have something that's going to also make you think, make you feel, that I would say Wild Dark Shore is for you.
Good. So at number 13, and for our sports fans, I would put us at the bottom of the NBA draft lottery. At number 13, Sucker Punch, Essays. My guess, help me with this name, Scotchy
Cole, I think. Scotchy Cole.
And my assumption is this is not a novelization of the early 2000s terrible movie Sucker Punch about the girls in the psychiatric asylum who fight robots.
No, I'm not familiar with that piece.
You probably shouldn't be.
No.
It should probably stay in the early 2000s. It was likely featured in Girl. If they did not, they missed a real chance, because that movie, whew, look back and feel bad. But Sucker Punch essays.
So this was Gigi Cole's book. It's laying bare the remains of her failed marriage and some of the pain that she went through with that. The thing I enjoyed about it, and also maybe going to your question about who is this book for.
It's like my line, but okay.
Okay. I've been in the game for a while. I think that sometimes we have things that happen to us that feel so painful and so shameful that you want to hide, or you think it's maybe never happened to anybody else. But I found this book and her writing and things that she talks about are like that. And so it makes it think, hey, this can happen to anyone. It feels fresh. It maybe makes you feel less alone in your own personal experiences. She talks about things having to do with sexual assault, with embarrassing situations with her ex-husband, and how she felt. I believe, like I said, with an earlier book, this is one I read at the beginning of the year. I know that she is a person of color. She's Canadian, but her parents are, I believe, from India. So she's a person of color, and she was married to a white man, and like some of the complications that came out of that for her. So yeah, if you have something horrible that happened to you, and you want to read about someone else who had something horrible happen to them and find ways to laugh about it and not feel alone, I would recommend Sucker Punch.
At number 12, we have The Road to Tender Hearts by Annie Hartnett. I assume not related to Josh Hartnett.
No, but you actually have read a book by Annie Hartnett, whether you are realizing it in the moment or not.
Because I do such a great job of remembering who writes the books I read. That is sarcasm. I am terrible at that.
Do you remember Rabbit Cake?
No.
Okay, we read Rabbit Cake like over a decade ago together.
Oh, man.
I think we weren't even parents yet.
Yeah, for our listeners, running theme for me, I don't remember the authors that well. And I'm also terrible at remembering what I read sometimes, as evidenced by the time we watched Little Fires Everywhere.
Yeah.
And by the second episode, I was like, seems familiar.
Yeah.
Like, I know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, you started referencing things that happens like further along. And I definitely have read the book.
Yeah.
And I told you, like, there's no way you knew that without have read the book. So, okay, but so let's
sidestep what that says about me and talk about The Road to Tender Hearts.
All right, so I couldn't put this one down. This one, I think, is The Road to Tender Hearts. If you want to read something along the lines of, like, A.J. Fickery or, what is it, Frederick Bachman, A Man Called Ove. Something sweet, but maybe a little dark. That's what I would say this one is. Uncle PJ, he gives off Royal Tenenbaum vibes.
Okay.
Where he wants to make things right, but he is just constantly messing up again and again.
Is it like the Royal Tenenbaums where it's like the mess ups are coming from some just intrinsic flaws that I want to do better, but I don't want to fix any of the problems with me either?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's trying to make things better. But yeah, he ends up custody of his great niece and nephew, I believe, who have just undergone some trauma. And for various reasons, they take on a road trip, which the kids are definitely not supposed to be on. And anyway, there were like some kind of over-the-top moments that were like comedic, but like I said, we're a little bit over the top, but I think other people will really like it. And it's just a sweet story about family and redemption and forgiveness.
I'm trying to think of the reader for this. So someone who's looking for something a little lighter, a little sweeter, a little, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to put in this like lighter. There's also like a murder-suicide in this story, so it's take that what you will. But it.
Yeah, the way you're describing it to me sounds like something I might enjoy reading, but I might not remember.
Yeah,
For the non-Bills of this world, this might be epic for you.
Yes. I actually know quite a few people who really loved this book this year.
Okay. As we move forward, we're on number 11 for those keeping track at home. A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana.
Yeah, by
Sangu Mandana.
So this one is sort of a take-up of... She's written quite a few books, but she also has another one called The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which I read a few years ago and loved.
I'm giving her top marks for naming books.
Yeah.
These are good titles.
Yeah. They're just very cute and sweet. Always the witches are mismatched and have some kind of problem that they have to go into. There's a love story. There's young children involved. There's friendship. There's broken promises. And there's dark magic and there's good magic. And yeah, so if you read Secret Society of Irregular Witches and you're like, is this book similar? Yes, 100%. If you like the first book, you're definitely going to like the second one. It's not like books 1 and 2. I think they are set in the same world, though. Really cute, fun, sweet romance book with some magic in it.
Okay. Coming in at number 10. Top 10, people. It's The Wilderness by Angela Flournoy.
Flournoy, I think.
Flour.
I don't want to get this book. This is like one of the most acclaimed books on this list.
And I'm sure a spectacular human being, Angela. I'm positively distraught that I am struggling with your last name.
Okay. We're just going to go with Angela Flournoy. So she's a prolific author. She wrote The Turner House, which was shortlisted for the National Book Award for Fiction. The Wilderness this year was longlisted for the National Book Award for Fiction. Did not make it, much to my chagrin. And it's about the friendship between four women of color. I think they're all Black, and their relationships and how they start. They're probably millennials, maybe young millennials. And so its story kind of starts like 2005-ish. And like their careers, their relationships, their friendships, and also the experiences of race in America, of course, and how they grow over time. And that time for a lot of us from your 20s to your 40s, and how much changes in your relationships and how much you change. And it was really dynamic. I think it explored quite a few aspects of friendship, of romantic relationships, of familiar relationships. And yeah, it was a good read for sure.
So would you recommend it to someone in that growth period between 20 and 40?
Yeah, definitely. Someone in there. Definitely a book about female relationships for sure.
Okay. At number 9, Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane.
Okay. So
what a lead-in to start giggling. Well, you seem excited to talk about
because this one makes me the most squeamish that I added it to the list a little bit.
Ooh,
because
squeamish.
It's all right. It's set in 1974 Boston, and it's a mom who's desperately looking for her missing daughter. Also set in the backdrop of they are trying to segregate schools in Boston at this exact time, and all of the racism that's going on. Also, a lot of Irish American stories happening in Boston in 1974. And what would you call them? Mobsters? Do we call Irish mobsters? I don't even know.
It's not a group I want to offend right now. Would you just say organized crime? I can't recall the Martin Scorsese movie.
Yeah, about Whitey Bulger.
Yeah, I don't know what they refer to themselves as. But let's just say organized crime.
Organized Irish crime in Boston. And yeah, the thing is, if you just read this book and you want to go on Twitter and Threads and be like, this is the most racist book I've ever read, like, you could definitely make a case for it. It would not be nuanced at all. I think definitely he is trying to show those aspects that were real to the time, and also show how wrong it was and how messed up a lot of the stuff that was happening. So that's why I was like laughing at the beginning, because I was like, I can't believe I added this, because it's like a crime book with a lot of language that I personally would never ever use, and was almost like reading it. But
so outside of organized crime participants, who else would you recommend this to?
definitely for organized crime participants and their fans, their fandom.
Their fandom.
I think it's definitely, the story about Mary Pat looking for her daughter is quite compelling. And Mary Pat is a badass in this story. And so, it's definitely a mystery, thriller, suspense. And if you're open to having it set at that time period.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. Surprisingly, I was not expecting to like it, but I couldn't put it down.
Coming in at number 8, Famous Last Words by
Gillian McAllister.
Okay.
All right. So if you read The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave, this is very much in that lane. You have not read that book, but you saw the TV show. Remember?
What was it again?
The Last Thing He Told Me. It was with Jennifer Gardner. And her husband disappears, and then they have to go look for him. So this is a similar thing.
Okay.
The husband disappears. So the famous last words, and so I have a review I wrote down earlier this year was, want to spend a few hundred pages figuring out why a loving husband and father abandoned his family to commit a heist for absolutely no reason. Put me in the game, coach.
Okay. And so she wrote the other...
No, I'm sorry. I just was saying...
I was like, man, we need to check in on her relationship if she also wrote that show.
She wrote the book, but yeah, no, it's similar. I would say there. If you like one, you might probably like the other.
Okay. Halfway through a 15-book list is hard to determine. You can go 7, you can go 8. I'm choosing 7 here to do a quick pause and discuss the drink for today.
Actually, I'm going to give myself a little top. So, hopefully by the time this comes out, I will have aired. I did a wine tasting of Meghan Markle's As Ever Rosé, and that's what we're drinking right now. I thought it would be good synergy to do the review of it and then also include it in the episode. So the bottle I open on camera is the same bottle we're drinking from right now. What do you think?
It's solid. I'm not a huge rosé person, but I find it very drinkable. Some minerality. Some citrus.
Definitely citrus.
And it's good. Rosé, I'm with you on, where it's either like very palatable or it tastes like feet.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because you've incepted that thought into my brain, but I do agree with the assessment.
Yeah.
It's very good. I don't know about the price point.
Yeah, I think so. While we famously in our first episode have come out, it's not Meghan Markle.
It's
stance.
My last name is Sussex.
I like the show. I like the show that she did on Netflix, and I think it's cute and fun. I do like her, and I wanted to try the wine. I thought it's good, and it's good.
The ride.
It's worth the ride. Am I going to be buying this regularly? Probably not, but...
I don't see you hating yourself for buying a bottle and trying it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
Man, if someone pulled that quote, they'd be like, on the bottle, I don't see you hating yourself for buying this. They might not want to pull that. I'm trying to be positive here. It is a not bad wine.
Yeah.
The price point is not horrible.
It's $30 a bottle.
$30 a bottle. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get that Markle partnership with these sound bites. So
I don't think so. You might want to cut.
Maybe we need to include this. It's as crisp and beautiful as the princess herself.
Is she a princess? I don't think she...
I think she is.
She's a princess? I thought they kind of
As the Duchess herself.
Okay.
Okay.
As the Sussex herself.
As the Duchess of Sussex couldn't have picked a better wine than this.
All right, let me save us some of ourselves. At number 7, we have Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. Not to be confused with Charles Schwab.
I don't think anybody would. I'm looking to see. I don't have a review for this, so I'm going to have to just go off vibes, which is fine. So V.E. Schwab also wrote The Immortal Life of Addie LaRue, which was huge, I think 3 or 4 years ago. I was not a huge fan of the book. And so Valerie, friend of the show, friend IRL, loved it and loved Bury Our Bones in Midnight Soil and has been trying to get me to read it for 4 months. And it took a minute. It's also about vampires.
Tell me more.
It's lesbian vampires.
Okay.
And it's set through time. So I think the first one is probably like 1600s. And of course they live forever. And so one will make another vampire like 100 years later. And then there's the final vampire that comes about, I think, around 2019. And they're all in Europe in different spots. But it's just a really good, fun ride. Also a mystery, definitely a thriller. And as you can guess with lesbian vampires, feminist story. I also want to say I don't like vampire books. And I liked this one. I don't like gore. I did read The Interview with the Vampire. It's not for me. I don't like the whole like sexiness around killing somebody. It's just,
Not a fan myself.
I don't get it.
As a fan of horror movies, I would say it's my least favorite corner of the genre.
Okay. Vampires specifically?
Yeah, there's something boring about them.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's just not my jam. We peaked with True Blood as a story of vampires, and we should just leave it there.
Let me hold on, because these ones are not boring. So I want to tell you just a little bit about the characters real quick. There's 3 vampires. One is definitely the big bad. And then there's Charlotte, and she's the sweet one. Everybody loves Charlotte, but she does murder people. And then the one
fault.
Yeah. And then the one that's set in modern day, her name is Alice. So, yeah, who's going to come out on top between the 3 of them? You don't know. And it's not clear. It takes a minute to figure out how they all intertwine as well, because the stories are all set in different time periods. But it's really good. It's fun. Like I said, lesbian vampires, a mystery thriller.
If you're a fan of horror, mystery, or just the monster type vibe.
Yeah, and if you're really like wanting to see some men getting taken down too by women, that's a nice thing.
Catching a theme here that we'll need to process later. All right,
misogyny is very real.
All right. And also, awkwardly, at number 6, How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong.
This is one of the ones I read pretty early on in the year. It's pretty spicy. It's a romance novel. It's set in LA. And it's between our female protagonists who, a lot of times in romances, there's always a reason the characters can't get together. There's something, and a lot of times it's nothing. They can't get together because they share a really horrible incident that happened that they both ended up on the other side of, and both have animosity and pain maybe towards each other, but then they are forced to work together in an LA writer's room, and the chemistry is intense. But I liked it because so often when you're reading romance, you're like, they could easily overcome whatever this barrier that's keeping them apart. And I felt like this one, I was like, oh, they can't get together. Like, they definitely, no way. Anyway, I loved it. I thought it was fun. And if you like things that are set in LA in the writer's room.
Don't know why it makes me, we recently saw the Frida Kahlo exhibit, that bus accident that became a barrier between her relationship, except they never had a writer's room to come back to.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe things would have ended differently.
Yeah. We're hitting the top 5, everyone. And top 5 coming in hard. I read this one, Beautyland by Marie-Helene Bertino.
Yes. This one, I was so glad I picked it up this year. It was weird and interesting. And is she an alien? Is she not an alien story? You read it more recently than me, so maybe I'll let you take the reins here a little bit.
I don't want to describe it too much. You do have someone who is essentially processing their life. They start at a young age. It is hard to discern whether or not she is an alien or not. And ironically, the alien aspect of it doesn't really impact her day-to-day life with others until she becomes an adult in a somewhat positive way, but that she also is not a fan of. What I found really interesting and beautiful about the book was the narrative of this young girl growing up and really processing all of her feelings and processing the want for certain figures in her life and almost inventing them, if the aliens aren't real, inventing them to fill those voids. I found it just to be very thoughtful about what it's like growing up, because it really follows through the early adolescence, late adolescence, early 20s. I think a lot of the narrative starts when she's born, but becomes very thoughtful around when she's about 5. So the question about whether she's an alien or not really centers on, like, if she is not an alien, where did the faxes come from? There's a broken fax machine. I think they pull it out of the trash.
Yeah.
And they were going to put it back in the trash. I might be remembering this part wrong, but she sends a fax. It's plugged in. And anyone who can remember the bygone era of faxes, home faxes at least.
We still do faxes at the library.
Yeah, for the home fax, you need a dedicated line to send these things out. Maybe not a dedicated line, but you have to have it registered in order to someone fax back. And so she's sending these things out about her life, trying to talk, and she keeps receiving faxes back. And there's a mystery to that there gets another layer as she's an adult, because she does send them all to the same phone number.
Yeah.
Or to the same fax number, too. But the parts I found very memorable were just, it does capture that coming of age and some of the sadness and some of the excitement that comes with that, like with making friends or going to your first, having a teacher who likes you, it just did a good job. It has multitudes in it.
Yeah. It was a great read. I'm glad I got that one. I think is one of the few ones on this list. Most of the books we've talked about came out this year so far. That one came out, I think, in 2024. Yeah.
And to get into a real fresh book, at number 4, we have The Remains of the Day by Kazali Shigaro.
Yes. So, and this one I actually read like in the last month. I have read another book by Ishiguro. I read The Sleeping Giant, The Berry Giant. I can't remember. The giant one. And that was okay. And so everyone always talks about what a great writer is. And so I picked this up and immediately you're like, whoa, this writing is just intense. If you don't know this story, it's a butler who was a butler for a very prominent gentleman's home in England. The story kind of starts in the 20s, reminds you of Downton Abbey-esque around that time, that kind of family, and how much pride he takes in being a butler. And it continues on all the way until the 50s. And in the time, he has relationships with the gentleman of the house and who he places all his faith in. But the thing about the story is I don't think I've ever read anything that's that interior where you understand what's happening, even though it's a first-person narrative and the first person isn't saying it, because you can see how other people are reacting, and he's not catching it, right? Like, he's not catching that they're like, oh, you worked for that house? And he's, oh, yes, and it's a great house. And so many of the chapters are talking about really crazy things that happen, and his main focus is just keeping his composure. And whole sections of the book are just focused on what makes a great butler, which does not sound interesting, except that while he's explaining what makes a great butler, he's also talking about his father, who was also a butler, like slowly dying, and all of the ways that he maintained his decorum despite all the horrible things happening. And yeah, it's like quietly devastating. So also the funny thing to me about this book is Anthony Hopkins was in the movie. And I think I've told you this story already, but my parents love anything with C.S. Lewis. So I have a vivid memory of them watching the movie Shadowlands, which is about C.S. Lewis and stars Anthony Hopkins. But I thought that it was called Remains of the Day because Anthony Hopkins was also in Remains of the Day and was like also dressed in the same kind of clothing and like looking out of British windows. So in my head, I have merged the two. And so my entire life, I thought Remains of the Day was about C.S. Lewis.
It's wildly similar to my Purple Rain story.
Yeah.
Where I, for the bulk of my life, had thought I had seen Purple Rain like 20 times. But until Prince died, I was at work talking to a few people and I was like, mentioned the part, I'm like, yeah, the part, Purple Rain was okay. The whole nightclub versus nightclub thing was wrong. And my friend Mitch grabs my shoulder and he's like, have you gone your whole life thinking Purple Rain 2 is Purple Rain? And the only reason I thought that's because we had HBO, I was a kid, and they played Purple Rain 2 nonstop for a 3-year period during the days. Yeah, so I get it. I also live this, except instead of Anthony Hopkins, it's Purple Rain.
Yeah, so I really did think when I picked up The Remains of the Day, finally I was like, I want to read this book because I wanted to read something else by Ishiguro. And I was like, I thought this was about C.S. Lewis. It's about a butler? Anyhow, so that was fun.
I get it. I was like, it's weird the song Purple Rain's not in the movie.
Yeah, so it was a similar experience. But yeah, very interior. If it's very dense, too. If you're someone like me who maybe can skip, can look and be like, I can just skim this page. You can't skim that book. You have to read everything. Okay. But very rewarding. I really loved it.
All right. And just so everyone gets my joke, The Remains of the Day came out in the 80s, correct?
Yeah. I think it came out in 86.
Yeah, so my joke about it being a nice fresh hit for the list here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we're in the top 3, everyone. The titans of this quarterly review, except it's our first one, so it's just a review. Great Black Hope by Rob Franklin.
Yes. All right. So this is a book. Its protagonist, his name is Smith. He is like, his family's from the South, but he's now become a big up and coming. I think he's a big up and coming lawyer. And he is arrested for cocaine possession at a party in the Hamptons. And it's one of those things where it just starkly shows the difference between his experience as a black man and also his friends, who are mostly white, experiences doing the exact same thing and the lack of repercussions for them. And a lot of the book is talking about like his father having to come up and how they put on their best suits and they have to go to court. And so it tells a good depiction, I think, of race in America. Also, generations up and coming. It goes into some of like his family striving in the South over generations. I think one of the chapters goes back to his like grandmother and all of the things that she did to set her family up for success. And so I thought it was just like a really important story about America Day. There's also a murder mystery, but like I saw on like Goodreads or something that it was like, oh, you want to solve the mystery. There's no like Smith being a sleuth and solving the mystery. His best friend disappears, and that's going on behind the scenes. A lot of the story is what happened to her. And she's, I feel like she's kind of like a Zoe Kravitz-esque type famous person.
Kind of throwing your shoulders here.
I'm trying to be cool. Like I'm trying to like she's like cool.
I've never seen you have this Zoe Kravitz and you like sway your body and you're like,
yeah,
it's Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, a lot of it is set in these very cool circles of things, and he has access to these upper echelons. He doesn't really have access to, because he's not born into it. He doesn't have the same privilege. And so I think it also talking about privilege and influence that we all have, realized or not, or have or not. And yeah, and I also saw somebody say it was like the modern Great Gatsby. I don't agree with that at all. Smith is not Great Gatsby. These characters are living very different lives, but it is set in the Hamptons, and it does have the Hamptons in Manhattan, and so it has a lot of those sort of glitzy and glammy feels
maybe
to
like
it.
some old money versus new money.
Yeah, and I felt
you
like
can be part of the club, but not really part of the club. You can't buy your way into the club.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
think limiting the Great Gatsby to those themes would be a little problematic, I think.
Yeah.
Or missing the point. Not problematic, just missing the point. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I really enjoyed it. It was a good read, and I thought it said a lot about culture. So.
Yeah. No offense to the people who made those points. So, all right. We've made it number 2. And I was about to be like, so I guess you know who number 1 is, but we didn't give out a list. So there's no deductive reasoning.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
So number 2, Anita DeMonte, Laughs Last. By Schotel Gonzalez.
Yes. So we have covered Schotel Gonzalez's first book, Olga Dies Dreaming, on podcast with my friend and book club host Stephanie. So this is her second book. This is Anita DeMonte is a Cuban American. It's very much set in the art world. So like Valerie really was on me this year to read Bury Our Bones. Izzy, who's also been on the show twice now.
Friend of the show?
Friend of the show.
Friend of the family.
Friend of the family. Friend IRL. Has been on me to read Anita DeMonte this year. And I get it. It's a book very much set in the art world. Izzy is very much in the art world, so that hits it for her for sure. But let's see. Power structure, racism, art, as I said. I guess I need to do a little bit of a breakdown of what the story is. Anita DeMonte is an artist in the 1980s. And she's
actual or fictional?
Fictional.
Okay.
And she's married to a man named Jack. And Jack is older than her and has been like a titan of art, and is, as we were just discussing in The Great Black Hope, is in all the right circles, has all the right connections, is white, where Anita DeMonte is from Cuba, also basically was forced to immigrate from Cuba I guess I said Cuba. I should say Cuba because I'm American, but
you were really hitting me with the hourglass Nicaragua there.
Is it offensive? I don't know. I just did the audiobook and it was very accurate. Like
yeah. I don't know the right answer to that. I would say it how you learned it.
Send us your comments, drinkspod@gmail.com.
I feel like there is a little bit of a putting on airs when you start pronouncing it a different way.
I know. I don't think it was trying to put on airs. I think it's just because I literally just read the book, which was...
let me backtrack that to save some later arguments tonight. I was not trying to say we're putting on airs. Also, we would not argue over that. I just like to apologize in the moment.
Okay, thank you. But okay, so anyway, Anita DeMonte, she's a Cuban artist, up and coming. And I don't want to say what happens, but anyway, the story with them happens in the 80s. And then in the late 90s, another character, Raquel, whose family is Puerto Rican. I'm doing it again.
Nicaragua.
Anyway, her family's from Puerto Rico. And she is now, I think, at Brown and studying art history and gets entangled in the past with Anita's and Jack's story and what happened. It's compelling. It's interesting. There are ghosts.
Okay, now I'm in.
Yes, and I think it has very much like the cultural aspects that maybe are from Cuba or Central America that us that are more from like a Protestant background aren't as familiar with, but like of having people come in and, oh yeah, the spirits are always with us, and the more you remember. But I think there is things going into that side of the culture where I don't know. Maybe I do believe in ghosts. I don't.
For those not here, she is like dancing in her chair.
I know. I'm like, I could get down with this. Like the whole kind of having to purify your space and get rid of the bad vibes and things. Anyway, that's a very oversimplification of the story. Mm-hmm. It's a lot about feminism. It's a lot about art. But I don't think you have to necessarily be like chomping at the bit to read like a very feminist story to love this. It was interesting. There's a bad guy and there's good guys, and even the bad guys are nuanced and you get their side of the story. They're still bad though. And yeah, it was just a good read. I loved it.
So if you're looking for a good read that's ghost adjacent with good and bad guys, the bad guys stay bad. This would be the one for you.
Yeah, definitely. And culture and art and all those things. Yeah, it was good. Oh, and also hip hop.
With a guest appearance by the RZA from Wu-Tang.
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Because Raquel's story is happening in the late 90s.
Okay. All right. And here we are with that number one spot. You've enjoyed this book so much that other people have come up to me saying, man, didn't you really enjoy Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley? And I have to... It's one of those things where I'm bad at remembering what I read, and I'm like, yeah. And then I think longer, and I'm like, I haven't read that yet.
Okay, because I recommended to somebody else, they assume you've read it.
I think it's happened twice. I know it's happened once with Valerie's brother, David.
Okay. Yes, because I was like, you have to buy him that.
Yeah, and I got confused because I think I blurred it with Chuck Klosterman's book, The 90s, is what I thought he was referring to. Either way. Deep Cuts was a very popular book, at least in your circle of friends.
I'm hoping to make it, once again, I'm coming for your lunch National Book Awards, so... A
true David versus Goliath. With our sling being the book, Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley.
Yes, okay. I was obsessed with this book. I couldn't stop reading it. It's a romance. It's a love story. In the vibe of, if you enjoy like Daisy Jones and the Six, a book very much about music, the history of music, set in that world. So it's two characters and they fall in love. And hang on, I gotta remember. Okay. So it's set in Berkeley in the early 2000s, and it's two characters. Our female protagonist is Percy, and she is someone that like loves music and grew up with music and is obsessed with music theory and that kind of thing, but doesn't feel that she is musically talented, like capable of playing instruments. She's always felt not as capable, for lack of a better word. And then she meets Joe, who is a musician, and they're both drawn to each other, and there's reasons they can't be together, but they have this connection through music. And so the whole book is written with like chapters that talk about songs, and there's like a soundtrack to it. And I just think if you're really into the music world, then this is for you. If you want a good love story, this is for you. Like, if Daisy Jones and the Six, I think, is the closest thing I'm going to get with it, even though it's a totally different story, but just same vibes. Also, this was her debut novel.
Okay.
So it's her first book she's ever written. I couldn't believe it. I was like, my face was on the floor.
It was a weird day.
And also, like, as soon as the book came out, they announced that there's already a movie being made with Saoirse Ronan. So now we're appropriating the Irish.
I listened to an interview with her where she talked about how to say her name.
Okay.
And unless she's backtracked since then. I also enjoyed that interview because we're just the Irish. We're just the songs in our heart. Mm-hmm. If you listen to us talk, it's talking and sing-song. And I think that's the beauty of our people.
Yes.
Stuck with me. I think she was like 18 when she had that interview. And I was like, that is a great way.
Yeah.
So anyway.
She's awesome. But
so she'll be in this movie.
And also, I believe, Austin Butler.
Austin Butler from Elvis fame.
Of Elvis fame. I'm looking at my initial review right after I read it. Stylistically, I wrote, it reminds me of One Day by David Nichols. If it was set in the world of 500 Days of Summer, read music, zennials, and likable protagonists. So,
What decade did you say this takes place in?
it starts in the early 2000s. So they're just like a hair older than we are.
Okay. Whereas Daisy Jones and the Six seem to be a real takeoff of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
This would be more of an updated version of that for not incredibly updated if it's the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin anybody's day by reminding them of how long ago that actually was.
I know.
But it would still be akin to that, right? The Six was Fleetwood Mac. This would be more artists around that 2000s period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to...
2000?
Yeah. No, 2000s. I think
2000s?
it literally starts in 2000.
Okay.
And I also just want to clarify, because I keep bringing up Daisy Jones and the Six. It doesn't have... Daisy Jones and the Six is told through, like, interviews. This isn't like that. I just wanted...
It's a narrative about music during this time frame.
Right. And
with a love story.
And a long term. And careers and complicated things happen kind of thing. So anyway, that was my top 15 books of 2025. It is, October right now? So I don't know how many more books I'm going to get through this year.
The pace you're at least 100. So...
Yeah, we'll see. But this has been fun, and I'm glad I got to do it. Like I said, I do read a lot, and I wish I had a better way to share things. I didn't include things in those things. We talked about Trust in the Emerald Sea, which I loved this year.
But you already had an episode
it already got a spotlight. I just wanted to give a chance to give a spotlight to other things that I really liked. So thank you for...
Spectacular. And for Libration Nation, if you enjoyed this type of episode, let us know at drinkspod@gmail.com. We would love to have some suggestions on ways to improve the pod if you would like a format like this.
Yeah, for sure. If we should do this more often, if I should try something else.
If you want less Bill episodes, maybe keep that one.
Yeah, but to clarify, I'm the only one that reads the Drinks Pod email.
True.
So
I would never know.
If you want it just to come to me, I'll be the one reading it. So
our daughter does the next one.
Sweating bullets. She's okay.
Mom, how do you say that name?
She really wants to come and do an episode. I don't know how that would work, but anyway.
All right.
Thanks so much. And we enjoyed Meghan Markle, if you're listening. As ever, classic for all time.
You won't hate yourself.
Thank you for spending some time with me and my guest for an episode of Drinks in the Library. For more information about the show, you can find us on Instagram at Drinks in the Library, on the World Wide Web, drinksinthelibrary.com, or shoot me an email at drinkspod@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.